So welcome everybody to this beautiful autumn equinox night where it's a special seasonal celebration that traditions throughout the world honor in their own different way. Different traditions, different things. In times past, it was like a mid-harvest celebration. Um, and it's also equal light, equal dark. So there's a semblance of balance going on. But we just want to welcome you to this special night where there's a portal opening, where the veil between worlds is thin. So just take a moment and sense into the space around you. Beautiful. And so just to get your body into the experience, I do a really simple exercise where we chant the sound of Om 3 times. We're going to take 3 breaths in and then an out breath, chanting Om. And what that does is it brings the sound of the divine into your body. It's also really good for the vagus nerve. And so you're welcome to join me out loud on your end, or if you're not in a place where you can join, just allow the vibrations to move in, around, and through you. So you ready? Let's go. First deep breath in. Second breath in. And the third breath in. So notice the difference. Just doing this simple exercise is created in the space around you. We're gathered in a focal point in time between worlds where there's a physical location in the base of Mount Kailash, which is a sacred place up near Tibet in the mountains, where ancient civilizations made pilgrimages. But it's also a realm of magic, where thousands upon thousands of divine beings I call Source, divine consciousness, are here gathering to serve the purpose. And of course, the autumn angels, the autumn equinox angels, welcoming them. They're here kind of cheering you on. They have a really joyful countenance. And also the Angel Jophiel joins every single multidimensional healing. So let's take a moment to allow her into our system, and she's going to come in on the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. To me, maybe it's because she's been with me so long, she just feels like a slice of home. Angel Jophiel here to illuminate beauty within, to really assist your journey during the session, to make sure you get what you need, and not too much, not too little. She's kind of like your own personal angel, your own personal representative. You're also welcoming the master healers and the divine mothers. To 1,000 divine mothers are here, the goddesses of Mabon. There's a couple of different goddesses that are joining us. Again, because I work with Source, I don't tend to get names that are specific. We're just welcoming them en masse. in support of our journey. And so we're going to call in Trinity. Trinity is actually, I beg to differ. We don't call it in, but we intend it, because Trinity is us. Trinity is that spark of remembrance. It is that magical focal point within you that knows it's not separate from anything. So the more you use it, the more it grows. So you can call it in if you're not familiar with it, but those who are familiar with working with Trinity, we just like to lean back into it, like we're leaning back into an old friend. So Trinity's intention here today in autumn equinox is to restore balance. Now, where Source takes us, we'll see. But Trinity has 3 distinct layers. So we're going to let you feel them in this autumn equinox. So the first layer is just Devi energy. Devi energy is divine mother energy, but it's the goddess form of the divine. So let's just bring it in all by itself. Has a sparkly kind of ambiance. Beautiful. Happy, joy-filled. To me, Divine Mother energy always makes my eyes water because there's so much love in it, so much compassion, so much, a lot of Christed energy is in there too, but in the form of Mother Mary, Divine Mother energy. In the second part of Trinity magic is Earth magic, obviously very much more grounded. So we'll just take a couple moments. Yeah, there we go. So do you notice that the focus kind of went more to your lower half of your body as Earth magic kind of came forward? It's very much a part of our grounding exercise, which we'll just do in a second. Whew. Yeah. And this Earth magic has love in it, but it's in a different way. It's like it's inviting you to find that love where you are right now, as a human, as an earthling. Even though it's a really turbulent time to be alive, when you recognize you're a part of this greater earthen body and you really start to embody it, you can't help but see the wonder and awe as you listen to the wind, or as Thich Nhat Hanh says, he walks on the earth like his feet are kissing the ground, because there's just so much awe and wonder. That's what earth magic restores within you. Beautiful. And now the third part of Trinity is tree magic. Tree magic combines the two. It's like the tree of life, the world tree. The world tree, the tree of life, is virtually in every single philosophy and religion as some form of symbol, because it's as above, so below, as within, so without. So tree energy acts as this conduit for you. So it's kind of unifying the divinity with the Devi Magick with the earth magic. It's a unifying principle. And so therefore it's very much restorative. So you can kind of feel this differentiation as, to me, it's most active in what I call the energetic spine, that parallels your regular spine. So out of those 3, which was your favorite? Did you even notice? And don't worry if you don't. Don't worry if you don't. And so after we intended Trinity and we just sampled the 3 different phases and essences, it's called Trinity Essence, and those are the 3 essences. What I'm going to do is do a little grounding exercise. Before we do that, though, for those of you who are new, I'm going to upgrade your grounding cord, because your grounding cord is calibrated to the time that you came in the earth, and we're working with really high frequencies now. So we're going to recalibrate grounding cord of those who need it. Bring in structures for a high frequency grounding cord and allow those structures to gradually update, upgrade. There we go. Did you feel a gentle opening maybe in your root chakra, or a settling? So let's use that grounding cord, shall we? What we're going to do is we're going to breathe down that grounding cord, which is at the base of your spine, all the way down to the top layers of the soil, into the more rough, rocky layers. Maybe there's a water table there, all the way through to the molten core of the earth, where there's a crystalline ball, this dimensional life force called Gaia. She's going to allow us to plug in, like we're plugging into a light socket, but more appropriately, like it's an umbilical cord to Earth, to Gaia. There you go. So now just open and receive this delicate but rich nutritional life force. And what we're going to do is breathe that back into your physical body, but we're intending it here to go into your cells. We're intending it here to go into your tissue, into your fascia, into your bones, into the liquids, into the oxygen, into the atoms, and even the space in atoms. So coming up through the earth, into the soles of your feet, we're just receiving, 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 allowing it to percolate up into your ankles, your calves and shins, into your knees, and thighs, into your pelvic girdle, your genitals, and your waist, your core, following your spine all the way up to your large intestines, your rib cage, into your sternum, your heart, your lungs, your higher heart, into your shoulders, down each of your arms, your forearms, your hands, your palms, your fingertips, and up into your neck, your face, your crown. And we're going to extend it all the way to the center of the galaxy, where we're going to pull down this equinox energy, this portal that's open, spraying down this beautiful sparkly light of balance. We're going to pull down through our bodies, our head, neck, down our shoulders and chest, into our core, our pelvis, our thighs, knees, ankles, feet, and all the way down into the grounding cord, all the way to the center of the earth, where you're connected, almost like a plumb line, with you in the center, galaxy above you, connected with a pillar of light, going all the way to the center of the earth. And now coming back to the intention of Trinity to restore balance. Sit for a moment. So there's a general, what's coming in, so the way I work is I listen, and I work with groups. And as much as I would love this to be an uplifting, glorious, celebratory, peace-filled, harmonious, bliss-filled event, I'm like the plumber of energy healers. Source has constantly reminded me that if you want to live peace on the earth, if you want clarity, if you want harmony, we have to remove everything that isn't. And so that's where Source goes first. And then as we remove that, the you that has always been a part of, of this blueprint, this primordial origins, starts to arise naturally. It's like the conditioning are coats, layers, clothing of forgetfulness that has forgotten that we are whole, that we are one. So where Source is pointing for this beautiful autumn gathering, the help from the autumn Equinox Angels, Divine Mothers, Mother Earth, is there is this sense of disbelief. And it kind of goes in line a little bit with what we're working on in our monthly groups with the issue of helplessness. But there's a sense, it's very subtle here. And I'm sure you can relate, of disbelief that says, hey, Betty, I get what you're talking about. You know, that this glorious wholeness, this unified nature where everything is in relationship to everything else, that the indigenous naturally lived, and that philosophers talk about as a wonderful ideal. But I don't think we can actually achieve that in my lifetime. And the answer to that is, hey, maybe not. But you know, humanity has to start somewhere. And where we're gathered here tonight is we have so much help. So what we're going to work on is that disbelief. That subtle disbelief. It's not really helplessness, it's a disbelief that not humanity is doomed, is that humanity isn't really going to change. And it's not the way it is. But it will if more and more people are doing this kind of work. I see it all around us. I see these fortuitous messages. If you're not on my Facebook page, please join. I just posted one today, which talks about the roots of science and how the industrial age really created this disconnect from the world because it positioned the world as a commodity, as an object that we can pull things from, which separated us from our relationship to her. And that's when magic started to dissipate. Elves are real, fairies are real, dragons are real, but they're a higher frequency. And in that frequency, the density of competition, of power, of dominance is too dense for them. And so that disbelief says, I don't know if that change can ever happen. And here's the thing, it may not in your lifetime, but you may change. And when you change, you just changed your future. You just changed you in the next lifetime. You just changed a piece of your kid's future. You just changed relationship of everything around you. So we're going to work on that belief here today. First and foremost, I'm going to put structures. Structures are like little magical crystals, little lamps, little seeds that follow this line of issues, this line of patterning, this line of networked conditioned consciousness, actually, that says, I don't believe that it's possible for humanity to change, to come back to balance. So the ultimate intention here is to restore balance. And there's a part of you that says, excuse me, at least on a global level and maybe a personal level, that that's not entirely possible. So let's go find that issue wherever it's wherever it's connected in, or wherever it's held in your system, in your genetics, more than likely, in your karmic history, your incarnational past lives, and definitely in the collective around us. Yep. There's a level of mistrust, there's a level of lack of faith, there's self-doubt. It's a networked, almost entangled, the way Source works on issues and kind of sees it as ropes. At each one of these things I mentioned, and of course at the root of it is some sort of wound that created that mistrust, that wound that created that disbelief, a wound that created that emotional reaction, but it's held deeper, intertwined with your ancestral history and stories and memories, intertwined in your past life history, and embedded in the world that keeps replaying and recycling it over and over and over again with their behaviors, with their thoughts. There we go. So all kinds of structures and something I call evolutionary structures that target the roots and work gradually over time. So whatever we don't get to today, these evolutionary structures are pinpointed like little seeds that say, yep, we heard you, and we're going to work on this issue of disbelief really subtly in the background. It's not going to disturb you. It's not anything that you're even going to notice. Gradually over time, it'll make a difference. So now we're going to start at the center of the earth. The way Trinity likes to work is on focal points, because we have focal points holding this energy kind of like in layers. And we always start at the deepest rooted layer because we're hitting the heaviest density and we're working in the deepest karmic roots of this disbelief pattern. And then after that, the supportive symptoms of it, maybe the self-doubt, maybe the mistrust, tend to collapse or dissolve or be transmuted easier. So we're going to start at the center of the earth. And again, remember, there's nothing for you to do but open up, receive, and just let energy do the work. Equinox Angels are holding you, Angel Jophiel, nurturing. So much love for this task at hand, because isn't this disbelief at the crux of hope? You look at the world and you say, well, how can this possibly? Well, if you don't believe it, how can it possibly? So we're at the core of the earth where this disbelief is anchored in a lot of trauma. And this trauma has hurt enmeshed in it. Like the reason this disbelief is there is because there's layers and layers where our relationship with the planet, our relationship with each other, our relationship with nature, our relationship with the divine was slowly eroded over time. Many, many, many hurts. There we go. And as it dissolves, there's a gentle settling. This is very alchemical energy, very transformative, transmutes, it transfigures, because there's just so much help here. Because remember, we're working collectively, we're working dimensionally. And I say we because there is no me here. I am in this group healing, getting the work done along with you. I'm just like a play-by-play announcer. There we go. There's a piece of anger. It was almost righteous, like some wound, some piece of hurt. So I have a reason for not believing it. Because humanity does ugly and cruel things. Well, that may be so. But that, again, is a belief. There we go. And as this settles, what's arising from the very depths of the earth is that remembrance of the autumn equinox promise to come back to balance, to find that generous harvest. Harvest in the word of any kind of abundance and prosperity needed to fall back in love with not just yourself, fall back in love with nature, with the wind, with laughter, with connection again of all kinds, not just human, but to see the roar of the sea and celebrate its power. So we're restoring a form of balance that has a lot of awe and wonder in it. Or maybe a celebratory. No, you tell me. We're going to slowly build it as we've come into what I call the Earth Star, but it's also more like the first chakra. And again, we're bumping into the same pattern. That disbelief that doesn't think humanity can change. There's not a shred of hope. How can we manifest? If you know the laws of manifesting, yeah, you can do positive affirmations so you're blue in the face, but if there's a part of you that doesn't believe it, it's never going to really happen in any kind of lasting way. And this big, giant disbelief points to it. You're not probably consciously aware. 95% of the place we're working is in subconscious, subterranean territory. We're in the dimensional aspects of your ancestry. We're in the dimensional aspects of your incarnational history. We're in the dimensional aspects of collective consciousness. And we know, because we see that all around us. And we are a part of the web of life in this collective consciousness that doesn't believe. There we go. Yeah, and there's a sense of plaintiveness, meaning that there's an inkling, but the plaintiveness is almost like reminiscing, like, oh, I remember a time when. But again, human nature surrounding you, you say, well, maybe I change, but that's not going to change the rest of the world. Well, this flips that on its head. It says, if you are changing, you are actually a part of the world that is changing. And then your mind goes, well, but I'm just a tiny drop in the bucket. But then that tiny drop in the bucket says, no, you're a drop in the ocean that is so valuable, that uniquely has value. And as more and more drops start to shift and change, well, that ocean starts to make waves. There we go. Hold on, there's a piece in the... There's a piece of hurt. There we go. Again, because we're working dimensionally, never really focus on one thing. And, if I had a nickel for every time someone said, well, I kind of worked on that hurt before. And I'm like, yeah, well, everything is a spiral. It'll come back around. You'll get deeper and deeper, deeper layers. But again, we're working on the hidden consciousness, the subconscious, those subterranean layers that you more than likely don't even know exist. Ooh, there's that piece of anger. There we go. And because this pattern of disbelief is so subtle, when we're clearing it, it's almost a restorative of faith. Because remember, this disbelief says, I don't think humanity will ever change. There we go. That was a piece of resistance there. So now in the Earth Star, what's coming forward again? Remember, we're clearing out the conditioned consciousness of this disbelief in humanity's ability to change and restoring faith. Not just in yourself, faith in the power. Because remember, it was tens of thousands of years that humanity lived in a relationship with the world. It was animated. Where trees spoke, where we honored the animals, where plants were not just our food, they were our medicine, they were our teachers. So bringing in upper dimensional blueprints for the restored faith. And this restored faith has an air of confidence, where it looks at this challenge of disbelief, and it says, you know what? Anything, everything is possible. And call that manifesting intention, manifesting possibility, manifesting potential. And the way we do that, well, we really have to believe it, right? So this should really help your ability to manifest, because again, we're working on these deep layers, these dark layers. It says, I don't know if I can trust it. So now let's come into the root chakra. Again, we're following, not necessarily the chakras. When I say chakra, it's a focal point of energy. Your chakras are focal points of energy, but it represents the whole entire area. We're just working from the earth up. We're in the root chakra now, and there is a stubborn resistance that that kind of knows humanity is really ugly, cruel, bad. So we're just going to sit here until it just shifts, like the bottom dropped out of it. Remember when I welcomed the goddesses? Two of the goddesses that are inherently a part of this work are really, excuse my language, kick-ass. It's the angel, or not the angel, it's the goddess Kali, the goddess Durga. Goddess Kali, the goddess Durga. Are known for their ability to eat up our darkness, to eat up our karma with a lot of power. If you ever looked at Kali, she's the one with her tongue out and all the arms, and she's blue or sometimes dark. There we go. So they're really helping on their root chakra. All that survival fear that probably has its roots in wounds and trauma that point to human behavior, that justify not believing in man's ability to do good and to be good and to change. There we go. Now it's hit a patch of apathy. We tend to work on that this month in helplessness, but this apathy is all the different kinds of conditioning. You just don't really give a crap. That have been hardened by life's trials and tribulations. Think of all our history with war. Think of all our history with oppression, the oppression that's going on right now around us. It's that kind of energy that's sitting right there in our root chakra. Of course it's not going to believe, because it knows the misery of human corruption and violence and hate. There we go. But Source says, if you gather with intention, and if you show up, I will do half the work for you. I will do the heavy lifting. The other half is, yes, we're working on disbelief, but there's always these habits associated with it. If you are a person of introspection, there's always questions here. And the question here is for you to root out over the next couple of days the reasons you don't really believe humanity can change. And list them, and maybe sit with them in meditation or do some self-inquiry, or whatever or breathe through it, or whatever your practice is. Explore your patterns of disbelief in humanity's ability to change, because it's at the root of your own capabilities of manifesting. Okay, we're still in the root chakra. There we go. Now I'm going to put in some extra structures here. There's some anger. If you repeat this again, maybe you want to pause here at the root chakra and get a little bit more energy into that stubborn piece of trauma that really just wants to tell the world to F off. And there's been probably a bazillion times these last few years whole pandemic, that was a whole F off, why? All the disinformation, all the division. There we go. So that's going to continue to work behind the scenes. There we go. That opened up space for light to come in, but again, it needs more work. If this feels like it's something you want to repeat, find that replay. I have your email, I'll mail it to you. Otherwise, it's on Multidimensional Healing YouTube channel. I think it's YouTube Multidimensional Healing 101, I believe. There was a little bit right there in your tailbone, your coccyx. Now we're putting more light to build the alignment with faith. I have faith, not just in yourself, because we are a collective humanity. We're at a point of coming together as humans. That's why the division is so profound right now. It's asking us to fix that. Find the common ground, but find the common ground in nature first. That's why we're doing the Restoring Reconnection Challenge for 30 days to let nature guide you, because there's a lot of probably pissed off pieces in your energy system right now that looks at humanity and said, you're really messed up, and it is. But here's the thing, that disconnect that points a finger out there, anytime you hear a them versus us, that's separation consciousness talking. Reconnection says everything that's happening in humanity is mine, because I am humanity. I am a part of humanity. And every time you point a finger out there, every time that you blame or shame, that's really a piece of yourself. So reconnection first is finding that piece of nature that understands it's inherently a part of the whole, so that it can accept and allow, create boundaries, affect change in a different way, reframing it from a level of respect, compassion that is empowered to speak for the unspoken, empowered to stand up for the animals, empowered to stand up for the insects, empowered to stand up for the earth, empowered to stand up for the water and for the air. Because we are nothing without that. There we go. Boy, this faith has a lot of, excuse my language, I don't mean to swear, but it is really badass. This is a badass faith that's coming in online for you guys. Okay, so now we're coming into the solar plexus focal point. Ooh, solar plexus has a lot of emotional baggage in there. And again, it seems like the primary wound to this disbelief pattern is hurt. So if you're again of that introspective nature, you may want to explore some unresolved hurt in your life. As a means of inquiry, as a means of bringing it up. And it might take you into some uncomfortable conversations. It might take you into some uncomfortable experiences, because we tend to shy away from hurt. We tend to compartmentalize it, right? So the part of the 50% that Source isn't doing for you is that, is to look at your habits, look at your thoughts. But because we're working deep in the collective, deep in your dimensional history, it should be easier, because it's not going to have roots anymore. Yeah, this hurt is tinged with resentment, pain, a little bit of old trauma, but not a lot. Again, this disbelief seems like a reminiscing, almost like a memory that says, yeah, I remember that, but I don't think that's possible. I just don't think that's possible. There we go. And now the faith arising in the solar plexus. It's like a light turning on in the darkness. It says, you know what? I got this. And if I got this, maybe humanity has a chance too. But first and foremost, you have to target the disbelief within yourself. And this is the disbelief that looks outward and says, humanity out there, you can't change. But again, remember, reconnection says, I'm a part of everything. So if I think they can change, you're really saying, I can't change. So you got to find that hope, that faith within yourself. Not in a naive way, but in an empowered way that recognizes a whole lot of people are in a different boat. They're not on a transformational path. But that just makes your understanding of it so much more compassionate. Because you went through it, you're going through it. And you see their hurt as your own. There's a different level of understanding when you go through it first. And you also come to a form of acceptance where you say, well, I'm not necessarily here to change everybody. But first and foremost, change myself. And then see what arises, what speaks to you. There we go. I'm also putting in awakening structures as we go. Awakening structures recognize that this conditioned consciousness is like it's asleep in forgetfulness. It's asleep in the illusion that says, well, humanity just really isn't ever going to change. And that's a conditioned consciousness that is stuck in that pattern, in that illusion, that forgetfulness. An awakening structure says, psst, 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 wake up. Come back to balance. So you see how this is a form of restoring balance? Restoring balance isn't necessarily going into your energetic form and being grounded. It's looking at what is out of balance. And this is a big one, right? If you don't actually believe humanity can change, how can you really manifest and think and have faith in yourself as a piece of that change? There we go. That landed. So now coming into the solar plexus. Did I say that before? We were in the sacral before, not the solar plexus. Solar plexus is right at your couple inches above your belly button, right around the bottom of your rib cage. And this is all about part of you that wants to control yourself, control others. This is a part of you that points fingers. This is a part of you that thinks they out there need to change. Well, if you change, if this changes, if God changes, if I have this, and if this condition is met, then that's what's going on in your third chakra. A whole lot of resentful, blaming, shaming, positioning in your solar plexus. And there's a sense of having to endure lifetime after lifetime. So if you're a really old soul, and I would imagine if you're on this call, you're a pretty old soul, there is probably 99% of your lifetimes, where you were a part of this harmonious, living force that was interconnected with each other, that was symbiotic, and had a animated relational existence with all of nature, all of life, with the divine. I would imagine you're pretty pissed when humanity decided to shift. All these so-called scientists and anthropologists and physicians came in and said, you know what? Those indigenous, they don't know what they're talking about. That magic thing they're doing, that's a voodoo, that's backwards. And then the theologians came in and said, no, that only is backwards. We're going to hijack some of your pagan and Wiccan and traditions, and we're going to co-opt them, and then we're going to demonize them because we have a way of reaching God, and only the priests can and pastors can do it, and you can't. So it's shifting out of that wholeness, that interconnected, where everyone has the divine within them and the access to it freely, and creates a hierarchy, creates a patriarchy even, because a lot of these early scientists were all men. Not saying you men are to blame, but the early, during the industrial age specifically, categorized and defined the world through a lens that's unsustainable in the world right now. And we're seeing the effects of it, aren't we? Seeing the effects of it. Ooh, I can't wait to get to the throat chakra, because whatever's going on in the third chakra is bounding all the way up into the throat chakra. There we go. Third chakra, slowly relaxing. Again, if this really speaks to you, please replay this. You'll get more out of the third chakra. There's some who've replayed these dozens of times because this issue is up for them. It's big. And so you'll get, wait a day or two, you'll get more, you'll get more movement. But take time in between, because your system needs time to integrate and catch up to the changes. Don't overdo it. And there's that anger, that hate, that knows humanity hates. There we go. Wow. We have powerful help with us today. Those Equinox Angels, Mother Earth, the Divine Mothers, the Master Healers, they are kicking butt, taking names, because they are here to help us in a way that when we ask, they show up in force. Especially as something as important as this. How can you change if you don't believe it? So we have so much help here. There we go. Your third chakra, your solar plexus, slowly relaxing. And light coming in. Again, there's more work on the third chakra. This is obviously a multi-layered issue, disbelief in humanity's ability to change, kind of big. We don't actually pick small, tiny little issues. And again, I'm not picking them, the divine does. So there we go. Now face starting to bubble up. In your third chakra, and starting to smile. Starting to say, I know. Not only do I know that I know. There we go. And there's a little bit of sadness leaving as faith is coming in. The sadness is the part of our history that, again, knew itself as a powerful force of goodness, of harmony in the world, transparency, of clarity. And so this is networked and disentangled with a lot of other conditioned consciousness. Yeah. And now, of course, we're coming into the heart. Heart reflects all the other chakras. And there's that disbelief. Here in the heart, it's more like a sadness. And a grief. And a loss. The heart remembers. The heart is looking on right now and saying, I remember the trauma. Man doing this to man. And knowing that men just don't know any different. And I'm saying this as humans, not patriarchal, but they need to bear the responsibility, those scientists and theologians and physicians and anthropologists who created a framework for us to read books in and for us to grow up in. They created the structure that we consider science. Physics right now doesn't really understand in a commercial way, in a popular way, exactly what I'm doing. Quantum theory. And they're starting to prove it more and more and more and more and more. But if you go out in public and talk about this, they're not going to really understand what's going on because the structures around them, how they grew up, witchcraft, in my religion, ooh, evil, bad. And so these things are breaking down and the heart is sad and grieving the loss of humanity's shift from a place of universal love and respect and orientation that was a dynamic principle. There wasn't even a name for it. It's like you breathe oxygen, you didn't even call it oxygen. You just breathe. There wasn't a name for it. It was the water we swam in, it was the air we breathed, it was everything. Thousands and thousands of years. I call it magic because you have to string together so many names. It's a natural order, it's the cosmic order, but people don't understand what that means. We understand magic because you wouldn't be here if you haven't had mystical moments or awakenings or understanding supernatural principles. But what I'm talking about is a natural order where all of humanity lived in harmony and peace with nature, with a divinity that ran through everything, that looked at the stars, considered them relatives. There we go. I'm putting some structures in the heart. And again, there may be more sadness in the heart that needs to be transformed and released, but right now, that faith is starting to be restored. Starting to remember. Starting to smile. Starting to love again. Not only love itself. Do you know, there's so much unhealed trauma in the world, which is why people are so divided, so hateful, so hurtful, because trauma bounces off of other trauma. It creates what narcissism is, the big word. Narcissism is just really an unhealed frickin' wound. It doesn't make it right. It means we have to deal with it in a different way. Sociopaths, same thing. People who do evil, same thing. They're just hardened in the heart in ways that lifetimes have created. But if it's been created, it can be uncreated, or we can shift and change the vibrations like we're doing right now, where everything is starting to collapse all around us, right? But it creates this chaotic kind of way of being, and so it's inviting us all, instead of being tossed around in this stormy seas of chaos, find that internal, guiding, timeless, changeless light and live from there. And you become a beacon for others. And so the heart is restoring a little bit of faith that says, I know that exists. And I see it in others. I see through their facade. And that's the way you find change. Okay. Coming into the throat chakra. Oh. There's a lot of swear words in there. A lot of screams, a lot of pain, a lot of complaining. Of course, with disbelief. A lot of it is words of hurt, words of repression and oppression that have gone unheard. Divine feminine is rising because the patriarchy has created this structure that says this kind of love and compassion is not leading the world right now. And so as we start to rise, we start to find our voices again, but we have to break through that pain and oppression that says your words aren't important. And that's what's stuck there. Ooh. So Source is saying if you have a blue stone and this speaks to you, you might want to put a blue stone on your throat. Ooh. Because the world right now is facing a lot of female oppression. A lot of oppression, period. In different places of the globe, where women's rights are being taken away, where children are being killed, where authoritarian order starting to oppress, but it's not starting, it is rising in chaos to be seen. And as it creates chaos, it wants to create division. As the divine feminine, learn to speak up. We're joining together with conscious masculine energy to change what we can. But first, start with yourself. First, you got to believe you can, and you have to believe humanity can. So here in the throat, a lot of choking energy of unspoken words, of hate, of hurt, of pain, of repression, of oppression. There we go. Again, we're working collective, ancestral, karmic. And as that clears, restoring the light of harmony, of balance, that has faith. Faith in itself, faith in humanity, faith in the world again. Faith in love, faith in life. Faith in the unifying principle that we can, that it can, that everything can shift and change. Now coming into the brow chakra and crown chakra, there's not a lot of karma here, but we're going to work on the eyes, the ears, the nose, the brain consciousness, pituitary, hypothalamus, the what's called the HPA axis that fires up your nervous system and hormonal chemicals. And because we worked on all the other chakras, that went pretty quickly. So now for whatever time left, and this is where the beautiful tree energy comes in. Just going to align and build coherence with restoring faith. You tell me what this feels like to you. Again, you may need to replay this, especially in that stubborn root chakra and maybe the third chakra, the solar plexus. Restoring faith aligns you with the part of you that knows its core truth has a natural intelligence to it, and that everything else in the world has a natural intelligence to it. I'm going to bring in some integrating structures. Just take a minute or two to integrate all space, all time, all realities, all dimensions, all realms, all fields, interdimensionally, catching up, physicalizing your body. Integration is so very important because we just took little puzzle pieces. And so remember, if everything's interconnected and we just changed how the way things are interconnected through you, with you, as you, we need to integrate that all together. That's why when you do any kind of big workshop or shift that your system feels out of sorts for a couple of days, well, here we're just going to take a couple of moments to integrate the brain, nervous system, the chakras, the pathways, energy bodies, organs. Life field, the intelligence system, your whole entire energy system and all of consciousness. Who would have thought we showed up for an equinox celebration? We took on the challenge of disbelief to restore your faith. How beautiful is that? Bring in a little therapeutic energy that's going to go right to that psychological body that likes to complain. There we go. And now back to building coherence, vibration of faith. We're going to add love to amplify and strengthen it. Because a loving faith is unstoppable, right? Loving faith has compassion, but also knows when to speak. A loving faith knows when to walk away or set boundaries. A loving faith is really understanding what it needs to be. Going cellular, molecular, into the cells, to the quarks and atoms. Activate, attune, but like we intended, to rebalance. Because how can you truly find balance if there was a piece of you that really just didn't believe it was possible? This is where your doubt creeps in. This is where maybe your anxiety or worry creeps in. This was the root cause of that. And now coming to end this sacred day of seasonal change, bringing in the energy of gratitude. So very thankful for the power of this session because we had so much help from the Equinox Angels, Angel Jophiel, the goddesses Kali and Durga, the divine mothers, the master healers, Mother Earth, and the universal consciousness of Source. Because the equinox is here, and it really is a time to reflect. And it's a time to come together like this, in a sacred space of gathering. The ancients really celebrated the harvest, but what we're celebrating here is the harvest of you, of the abundance you've gathered, all the work you've been doing for yourself, for others, for your communities. Thank you. And now as we pass from this season and, the days are going to start getting shorter and the nights longer. It's well-deserved rest. And so we call upon Mother and Father, elements, the guides, to help us in that slumber, in that balance. And to continue to guide us throughout every day of the seasonal change ahead. And I always end with a Sanskrit mantra that meaning is very near and dear to me. It's a transformational meaning. It's a prayer that says, may we be led from untruth to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality, and may there be peace and freedom on the planet, and may we be conduits of that. Om Asatoma Sakamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityarmaham Tramgamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guryo Namaha. Hari-om. Closing the portal to this space between worlds with gratitude and love, and bowing my head to you, to all the help we received, to you for your time and effort, and thanking you for allowing me to be a conduit. Taking you up and out of this space of grace. It is done, it is complete. So it is, so it is, so it is. Until next time, be blessed.